All right, today we're jumping right into a really significant and, let's be honest, deeply controversial new report from a United Nations Commission of Inquiry looking at Israel's actions in Gaza.
So what's the big deal? Well, this report, it's a bombshell. In a dense legal analysis, a team of independent experts makes the strongest finding we've seen from any UN body on Gaza so far, the grave accusation of genocide.
And Israel's reaction? It was swift and it was strong. They didn't just disagree, they immediately and forcefully rejected the report's findings, calling it biased, illegitimate, and even a libelous rant.
Okay, so who exactly is this commission? It's a key question, right? And it's important to get this straight. While it's backed by the UN Human Rights Council, its conclusions come from 3 independent experts. This isn't the entire UN speaking with one voice, at least not yet.
And all of this is happening against a backdrop of just staggering human loss. The conflict began with the Hamas attack on October 7th, which killed 1,200 people. And since then, the subsequent war in Gaza has led to the deaths of more than 64,000 people.
All right, so to really get what the Commission is arguing, we have to put on our legal hats for a minute. We need to go back to the source, the 1948 UN Convention that, for the first time, legally defined the crime of genocide in the wake of the Holocaust.
And here's the single most important thing to remember. The legal definition of genocide hinges on one word: intent. It's not just about what was done, it's about proving why it was done. The specific goal of destroying a particular group of people.
So, the Convention lays out these 5 specific acts. For a charge of genocide to stick, you need to show that at least one of these things happened and that it was done with that specific intent to destroy the group.
Okay, with that legal framework in mind, let's look at the heart of the report. How does the Commission connect these dots when it comes to Israel's actions in Gaza?
Well, the Commission's conclusion is pretty stark. They allege that Israel has committed not 1, not 2, but 4 of the 5 possible acts of genocide laid out in the Convention.
Okay, charge number 1, killing members of the group. This is the most direct accusation, right?
And the report points to a whole range of evidence. Things like using huge, unguided bombs in crowded neighborhoods, hitting hospitals and so-called safe zones, and even blocking ambulances from getting to the wounded or restricting medical aid.
Next up, the second charge, causing serious bodily and mental harm.
Now here the report focuses on 2 big things. First, the alleged mistreatment of Palestinians who've been detained by Israeli security forces. And second, the sheer trauma of forcing huge numbers of people from their homes into what the report calls inhumane conditions. Third, the Commission argues that Israel deliberately created conditions that were calculated for physical destruction.
The argument here is that this wasn't just a military campaign, but that it systematically dismantled the things people need to live. Bakeries, schools, and especially the healthcare system, which they say collapsed due to targeted attacks. The recent declaration of famine is cited as, really, the grim result of all this.
And then there's the 4th charge, and this one is incredibly specific: imposing measures intended to prevent births.
The centerpiece of this argument is the attack on Gaza's biggest fertility clinic. We're talking about an estimated 4,000 embryos and 1,000 other samples reportedly destroyed. The Commission argues this wasn't just collateral damage, it was a strike at the very biological future of the group.
So you have these 4 incredibly serious charges. But, and this is the huge but, all of this leads to the toughest part of any genocide case: proving intent. Because under international law, the acts alone, no matter how horrific, aren't enough.
So, was it intentional? That's the million-dollar question, legally speaking. The Commission had to believe it could prove that Israeli authorities knew what they were doing, and that their goal was, in fact, to destroy the Palestinian group in Gaza, either in whole or in part.
So how did they try to prove it? Well, their case basically stands on 2 legs. On one side, you have what they call direct evidence. These are public statements from top Israeli officials. On the other side, you have circumstantial evidence, the argument that the sheer scale and pattern of the military's actions leave no other reasonable explanation.
And the head of the commission, Na'vi Pelle, who, by the way, was a judge for the UN Tribunal on the Rwandan genocide, so she has experience here, she put it bluntly. She said, when you look at everything together, genocidal intent was the only reasonable inference that can be drawn. So what we're left with is a total impasse. You have the findings of this international legal body on one side and a sovereign state defending its actions on the other. And they are just worlds apart.
And this really gets to the core of it, doesn't it? You have the UN Commission saying, look, we've reviewed the testimony, the satellite images, the official statements, and this is our evidence-based conclusion. And then you have Israel saying, no, this entire report is a libelous rant, it's biased, it's illegitimate, and our actions are about self-defense after October 7th. Two completely irreconcilable positions.
And that leaves all of us with a really fundamental question, not just about this conflict, but about the very nature of international law. When the facts on the ground are so fiercely contested, what is the role and what is the real power of a body like this? It's something to think about.